All right, so the template. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. This thing's like it's really cool. I wrote it, so
Nice.
um, actually for this part, but behind the scenes, this is the template behind the scenes, but you don't really even have to worry about that. In fact, you don't really want to worry about that, right? Because if you change anything, then you customize it. So we'll just go. So you can everything that you can do with the template can be done through the business user interface.
Okay.
Okay. Now everything in here I put like you click on it and you'll get the directions for how to use that particular field.
Okay.
So in this one, of course, the terms and conditions, because this one made me even paranoid whenever there's like, well, as soon as I use TTS or speech recognition, it becomes billable. So the application won't even work unless you click the terms and conditions.
Okay.
Then depending on what you're using, if you're using DTMF only, you can use speech and DTMF or speech only. You can choose to play a welcome message. So like thank you for calling whatever flagship products or whatever your stuff says. Um, and then also the Miranda message or something like that. Your call
Yep.
may be recorded, that kind of stuff. You can choose here to play it in which prompt. Are you familiar with the buoy resources?
Yep.
All right, so you would load the prompt into buoy resources and then choose the prompt out of that, or you can also use the folder.
Got it.
If you don't choose a prompt and you leave it blank, then it will fall back to TTS and it will play, whatever's here in the TTS field. It's also good for, that's kind of good for if you need to put in a quick, change the message or something for a weekend or something. You can do that too. There's also an option here to play a special message before the main menu. So this would come in after the welcome prompt in Miranda, but before the main menu. Like, please note, our offices will be closed on December 25th.
Okay.
You can choose. This is the only one I made this specific for. You can choose play it in TTS or play it with a prompt, or do not play the special message. The reason that one is so that it's just because in case customers are scattering to shut down the call center or something like that, then I didn't want them to have to think, okay, keep this one clear, put in the special message here in TTS or whatever. So it's just specific to you. Either you can choose TTS or the prompt or not.
Okay.
Then um, then you can choose here to end the call after special message, and that would shut down basically this service. So if it was something like that, uh, you know, please note to an emergency situation we're currently closed. You could please call us back in an hour or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, you choose this option here, and now that will. Oh, again, everything has a direction. If you wish just to play the welcome and/or special message, check this option, and the call will play the user transfer success message and disconnect the call. So what that means is like if you scroll down here to all the prompts are grouped down here at the bottom. There's a user transfer success, which usually does not get played on a transfer anyway, because the
Right.
caller the caller will be transferred. But if they do come back to the application, like if it was a transfer that they did return to, then they would hear thank you goodbye. Or right now that's the default in TTS. Otherwise, you can choose the prompt for that. So what
Okay.
that's saying is, you'd play the message, or we're currently closed. Please call us back in half an hour or something like that. Then thank you for calling flagship products. Goodbye.
Okay.
Now, but you've got to twist your thinking a little bit and get a little devious because that could also mean like this could be like use not for emergency, but also for like FAQs or something. Somebody chooses somebody like I know with OneMain or Springleaf or whatever, they if they choose that the customer's account were like in default or something, and they choose this particular path to make a payment, theirs ends in something like in order to do this, please call our number at 1-800-979 whatever. Thank you. Goodbye. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, or or use this special message to play an FAQ like our mailing address is, and then you spout all that information. Don't end the call after the special message, and then at the menu you could say stuff like, if you would like to return to the main menu, press this, or if you're finished, just simply hang up. Stuff like that. You can give them options too.
Okay.
Now, the repeat would not work because the repeat would just repeat those options at the menu. So if you were wanting to repeat like a whole mailing message, then you would put that all down into the menu. So that's how this special message can work, is like it can either be some giant FAQ and then you end the call after it, or it could just be some notice information and then you go into the main menu or into the menu. It's all kinds of stuff. Not just for emergencies. Excuse me. If this is the main menu, you want to check this option, because what will happen is if you choose down in the other menus to return to the menu, if you give it an option to return to the main menu, then this is telling it this service is the one that's the main menu.
Okay.
That way it knows whenever you're further down and you say return main menu, it knows which service you mean.
And you can end up back here.
Yes.
Okay.
And it knows like when it shoots back through, when it comes back through, because we don't have like go-to per se where we can jump like in the menu middle of an application. I mean, you can program that in or stuff, but what this one does, the way that I wrote this one does, if it does come back to this, ever back to CJW, whatever, like emergency, what this one is deployed to, and you say main menu, when it does come back to that, it'll know that it's coming back, and it'll skip the welcome and special message prompts.
Ah, very good. Okay.
So it won't be playing those again, because you do have to start when you do service chaining. You start from the very beginning of the service, unless you pass it a variable and you also tell it, you program it to jump in the middle. But in this situation, I just told it to skip everything if it's already been through once.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
All right, so here is the menu builder, and again, here's all the directions and everything for it here. But I'll just go through it down here. This is to activate a particular row or not. This transfer default here is meant only one of these to be selected, and what it means is if there's an error or some kind of with those customers that press 88888 or whatever, and just try to bark
Right.
up. What this does is it says you choose this to tell it what path to use, so that when a customer, for any reason, if there's an error or they need to leave the system without going through the normal means like pressing 0 or something, then it'll follow this path. So it doesn't have to be 0. I mean, it could be hey, I want them all to go by this path if they do that. The DTMF key here is configurable. It's just these are filled in for the default. But if you wanted to move like 0, up here, you could just fill it in right there and undo, do this, because you wouldn't want. I mean, if you had 2 of them in there, it's not going to make the app error. It's just going to choose the first one in the first one that it finds, which is usually
Gotcha.
Yeah. That I don't know if there's any really reason to, but sorry, something stuck here. Okay. The keywords here, this comma delimited list, if you do use speech recognition, this is like how you would do a grammar.
That's the grammar. Yeah. Okay.
So in this case, like if you were doing, if you want to let the caller say, the transfer to user, whatever, it'd be user, transfer to user, email, transfer, etc. If you're not using ASR, it's okay. You can leave those in or not. You know, it doesn't affect it. If you're not using ASR, then it won't be there.
Okay.
So this just gives an example of all the kinds of transfer types. So you can transfer to a work type, and I'll show you why we have work types 1 through 9 here, and I'll show you what that means here in a minute. You can transfer it to the queue, whatever the queue is for this work type. But if you do that, it's not skills based or anything. It's just longest available.
Okay.
If you use a template to create one of those skills based routing, options and all that stuff, and go through all that using the template for that, you can use that. It's just that you would service chain to it.
Okay.
Now remember, as long as you stay service chaining and going down those steps and everything, and even when you service chain back to CJW emergency where this is one that's deployed, you're really not going back. You're still just going down another step and just starting it over.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But as long as you stay in the service chain, you're still in the original work type.
Okay.
So if you service chain 4 or 5 down and then you say queue the call, it's going to be back for that original work type that you came back to, unless you obviously you force it here and you switch to a different work type.
Okay. That's what we would need to do.
Yes. The service chain here is that's just you write into the service. In this case, it's what it is. It's not this CJW emergency. It's what it is in the service list, which I think is like CJW underbar emergency.
Yeah.
I tried to get too fancy. Yeah, it'd be CJ underbar emergency. You don't have to put. I made it. Let's see. You don't have to put the at. You don't have to put that there.
Okay.
You can just put the name of the emergency. It'll know it. It'll know because it'll pull it out of the configuration what your site ID is. So if it doesn't see the @ symbol in there or anything, then it's going to go ahead and concatenate it and fill it in for you.
Okay.
Let me see that transfer. That's the right here. Like see externals. Yeah, fill in the CX service name that you want to transfer to. Okay. The transfer to user is those transfers that you can do by email. If you that's the email address. But since usually we don't collect, I mean that's pretty much impossible to even with ASR to collect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The external transfer, here's you put the phone number in. Like this one, you could cell phone or whatever. If it's going to an outside line, then put that in here. And then extension transfer is those like, what this will do, if you put this into an extension, this will go down into a different menu to then collect the extension that the caller wants to transfer to.
That's perfect.
So again, though, these are here only by example. What you do, you're supposed to come in and basically blank all these out and then put in whatever your options are.
Yeah, build my menu.
Yes. So let's see. There's the operator queue, and then and there's also then the repeat that. Now, what you won't see in here is like the main menu option. And that's because like if you wanted to say like you wanted to put eight to if you wanted to say eight to return to the main menu, you know choose which DTMF or whatever that you wanted. Um, if you were using ASR, you'd ask them the same main menu. And then what you would do here is you would actually service chain, and then you would chain it. You would say go back to what the chain the service was for the main menu.
Okay. So yeah, like you said before, not really going back, but
Yeah, just going back.
pointing you to where the main menu is.
Oh, okay. So that option in the buoy up at the top there, to main menu. Okay, that was not okay. That was not so that it would know which main menu to go to right here. It was so that it would know like whenever a call did return, whether or not to ignore all that information, the welcome and the special message.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why that's there. Okay.
Because you can skip those.
But you're filling in which one is the main menu when you say main menu.
Okay.
All right. So like those, the work types 1 through 9, what that means is like if you choose, one of these work types, and I'm going to do a work type transfer, whatever, say like work type 3, you would come right here to work type 3, and then you would choose from the drop down which work type you want to transfer to. So there's really no way on a work type transfer that you can mess that up because you have to come down here and choose it from a list.
Okay.
But again, which one you choose up here, like, I chose work type 3, and I came down here, and then in work type 3, I chose where it's going to go, which work type. And then, you start over with that work type. So whatever, you're susceptible to, its schedule, its hours of operation, holiday, etc. If they do queue the call, you can choose, for the wait music that you want to hear. That can either be, you can choose it. I left it here, by default, it's the file manager, which is this earcon underbar wait music, which I think is jazz or something like that. But then if you'd rather play a buoy prompt, the wait music, then you can choose, whatever you load in here, or choose one of the wait music options here.
Okay. So do we have the option to do something like an attention retainer, or what used to be an attention retainer? Or a message followed by music, followed by a message, followed by music, followed by that type of thing.
Okay, so see that for that one, you would use the skills-based routing template, and then in here, you would not transfer the caller to a queue. You would do a service chain to that skills-based routing thing, and then option, and then that would either service chain if you're wanting them to queue in this work type, or a work type transfer if you want them to queue in that work type.
Okay.
The invalid answer limit is how many times the caller can roam around inside the menu until they finally just get pushed out. And again, getting pushed out will make you follow that default route that we have checked up here, like that one.
Okay.
Yeah, the transfer default.
Can that be set to unlimited?
No. But why would you want somebody in there unlimited?
So currently in our menu, if I give you 5 options and you choose number 6, which doesn't exist, I make you choose one of the 5 options, period.
Right.
It will replay those options and say, you picked the wrong one, choose one of these 5 until you do.
I got you. Okay.
And for an infinite number of times. Because I'm telling you what options there are. Stop choosing the option that doesn't exist.
Right. That's fine. I tell you what, though. When you're footing the bill, you can do that all you want. You can leave them in there infinitely. When Aspect's paying for it, you get up to 6 times.
Okay.
The extension digits, depending on how many the maximum extension digits your site uses, it's up to 20. So
okay.
The 20 digits. So there's a minimum and a maximum. Then the rest of this is the prompts. So the prompt for the main menu, this is where, the main menu. The reprompting, if they, no input or no match. Okay. So this would be like if the caller, like the initial menu might be something like, please say yes or no. The reprompting would be the generic no input or no match. So if they didn't say anything, this is the prompt where you would say, sorry, I didn't hear you. And then the reprompt, back on the reprompt one, is like where it would say, you can say yes or press 1, or say no or press 2. So that's the generic prompts are like prefixes to the reprompts.
Okay.
And then the enter extension initial prompt, that's the one that, like please enter please enter the 4-digit extension, depending on what you're using. And then the reprompt, same thing there. So the no inputs and no match prompts, they're used by both the main menu and the enter extension. So again, this would be, sorry I didn't hear anything. I still didn't hear anything. Sorry I didn't understand, and I still didn't understand. Something like that. And again,
Yeah, okay.
the generics are prefixes to the reprompts. The prompt on transfer, if a caller is about to, being transferred, one moment while I connect you with an agent, something like that. The extension confirmation is you could say transferring to extension and then play back the extension confirmation or the extension number.
Like a readback?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're ending the call for any reason, it's usually for in failure situations.
Okay.
And these on the transfers to on particular transfers to the user transfer, like to the email or to an extension, if that agent is not logged in, this is to give them that message. The transfer success, again, they usually shouldn't hear this one, so that's why it's used for the like after if you end the main menu quickly. I'm sorry, if you end the call after the special message. This one is to let the user unknown. This one's actually being debugged right now because this isn't quite working the way we thought it would. But if you enter in a bad extension, then this will play like that user was unknown.
Okay.
And it doesn't go back to a menu or anything like that. I think it just like disconnects.
Okay.
And then if the user rejected the call. So I think like these you can that one you can set in the user like to go to voicemail or something like that. But if not, if they did reject the call and they can't go to voicemail or something, then it just plays whatever message you want to play there, and then disconnects. Oh, if you do have an option to repeat, like press star to repeat this menu, and you want to play something like they press star, like I usually the way I do my user interfaces, if they press star, I usually say sure I can repeat that, and then so that's what that is for. If you don't want to, if they press star and you just want to repeat the menu, then uncheck this and it won't play a repeat prompt. Then everything below that is all those prompts that you just saw above, but in text to speech. So out of the box, this is everything that it says, by default. Which wouldn't make any sense in your environment, but they're just there though, so that you can, see examples of those. But since all these, if these are if they're blank, it'll default to TTS because that's just the way that the VXML works. If it can't find the audio file, and there's a TTS backup, it'll play TTS instead.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
All right, and that's the template.